All right. Hello, everybody. And to those of you who are wanting to be here right now, um, but cannot because something happened with with something. I've been on uh, customer service chat with Squarespace for 2.5 days now, ever since the mess up the other night. And of course, this is literally one of the biggest weeks of my business life with the announcements I've rolled out recently. And um, I think at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, a video is going to show up on my YouTube channel, which is a condensed version of the live stream I did the other day, explaining how I'm going to run my open to the public style of classes from here on out. Because to be honest with you all, after 3 years of this, well, should I say, after 46 years of being immersed in nature and immersed in the world of nature education and teaching for almost 27 years, um, I I'm exhausted. These last few years since I left my previous job and decided to, set off on my own, as they say. Things definitely have not gone as planned, and some of it, ultimately only I'm responsible for all of it. However, as always, always am trying to do the best I can in the moment, with the information, resources, etc., that I have available to me. And one thing I've realized in the last few days is I've spent the last 3 years, counting on people, or believing in people, or believing that, this person's offer is, the next step in my journey, only to have it throw me into a massive amount of debt for me as somebody who never had a credit card before recently. And I realized that, you know, I trusted in these people because I knew them for a long time, and I'm just generally a trusting person. Um, I like to think my BS meter or my my is pretty on top of things, but it has failed me, leading me to this point in space and time. I won't even tell you guys you know, I was doing taxes, and I basically, um, last year I cashed out some investments to pay a few months of back rent that, had I held on to that, I would be able to buy a house right now. A very, very nice house. And all because my, my living situation, which was supposed to be work trade, turned out to not be that way after about 2 months. You may, but can't live in the past. We can only move forward and learn from our mistakes. So before I start reading, I want to talk about a couple things. So, as I mentioned, a YouTube video will be populating on my channel probably. I forgot if I said it for now or six. But basically, it's a synopsis of the live stream I did the other night, where I made the announcement that, I have worn myself so thin, literally, figuratively, mentally, spiritually, and financially, that there are very few things that bring me like sheer joy and allow me to fully be in the moment, uh, that I have left to me anymore. I used to have, photography and photography and fly fishing and other things like that. My dog, friends that all haven't moved away. Um, and it's been it's been brutal, but it's also been one of the most intense, awesome learning experiences of my life. And because I was, separated from my seed money that I spent so long saving right in the beginning, and I based it all on a different business model, essentially teaching in-person physical classes every weekend to 10 to 15 people. That's what I invested my money in when my business took a drastic turn, when the other side of the coin wasn't there when it was supposed to be. Um, so, these last 3 years, I've just been trying to come up with ideas to get what's in my brain out there. And I'm just so beaten and so worn down that the one thing that I have left where I can just totally push all the problems, all the debt, everything to the side and be completely in the moment. And that's when I'm teaching. So I made the decision that from now on, all of my open to the public online classes, and I've got a lot of them, and you know, anywhere from my 8 episode, 2 hours each, all in one class, to my 6 part, 2 hours each episode awareness class. All of my open to the public online classes now no longer have a fee associated with them, because a couple of reasons. Now, now more than ever, the state of the world, people need to learn how to reconnect to nature. They need to learn how to reconnect to themselves, to a community, and that's exactly what my vision is for the world. You know, I think after a couple 100,000 years, we should learn to stop killing each other and raping the earth and doing all that stuff. But it just seems to keep getting worse. And also, throughout this 3.5 year journey, there's been so many online classes associated with, like, whether it's business or photography technique, that I really wanted to take. And then I look at the price tag and I'm like, yeah, not taking that one. So I decided to take a risk. So from now on, there will be no fee associated with any of my open to the public online programming. However, uh, I do ask that you, um, in order to keep it that way, that there will be a like a donation thing type thing where you can choose, you know, if my experience could be acknowledged monetarily, the time and effort I put into developing the program, um, the ability to pay bills to make free spaces open for people, that I just asked that you contribute something, whatever you think the class is worth, what you thought it was worth. But I'm no longer going to place a value on any of that stuff because it's priceless and it's crucial information. And with Zoom, um, I don't have to get any more firewood or extra food or bow drill kit blanks ready. It doesn't matter if I'm teaching one person or 1,000. Um, I'm hoping, and the reason why I'm doing this mainly is I don't want some budding young nature educator or somebody who's just getting into nature find one of my classes and be like, God, I'd love to take that. and have what happened to me and see the price tag and be like, oh crap. So, all I'm going to ask of people is, you know, put $1 in the box, so to speak. Pay what you can so that I can keep this ball rolling, and keep passing on the information that I've spent a lifetime developing. Um, so yeah, so the way it's going to work is I'll be releasing a blog post tomorrow, and then my schedule on Sunday. I'm not going to release the schedule until I solve this whole Zoom BS thing, because I am super ticked off right now at Squarespace or whoever made the mistake. But yeah, so I'll post my schedule on Sunday. I'm gonna post 4 or 5 classes that are anywhere from 8 episodes long to 2 episodes long. They'll typically occur, anywhere from 2 weeks apart to a month apart, depending on the skill. With the awareness classes, I like to give people a month to work with the information before I give them some more. So yeah, and then as far as my private in-person classes and mentoring sessions, those will have a fee associated with them based on a sliding scale, based on your budget. How many sessions you want to do if it's an in-person class. Because my ultimate dream, if a genie were to appear in front of me right now, and grant me one wish, it would be to fulfill what my father, inner vision, the creator, is screaming at me. And that is to spend 2 years driving around North America, interviewing people for the documentary I'm making about my father, working on his biography. But I'm also going to stay in certain regions of the country for a month or more. And I'll post on my website, say, hey, I'm in the Midwest. I'm, outside of Peoria. I'll be here for a month. If you want to book me to come to your house for a private day class, you can do so. And it'll be a really good price because you don't have to pay for a plane flight. And I basically set things up to keep them as low cost as possible. And it's such a shame that we live in a society that, people think because something is $700 and something is $500, that the $700 thing is better, when that's not the case. Because I'm literally one of the top people in my field, and I'm literally giving away, potentially giving away a product worth a lot. And I'm doing so mostly because I promised my father, just like he did, I would lead as many people back to nature as I can. And being that I can harness modern technology, Starlink, I can broadcast from anywhere to anywhere. Once I do get on the road, it's going to be one big experience that I'm trying to build. I just need to um, figure out how to fund it. And I'm hoping that part of the generosity of me making sure that any and everybody who wants to take one of my classes but doesn't have the money will have the ability to. Um, and yeah, I'm still working out the finer details on that as well. But that's the direction I'm heading in. That's what my inner vision is telling me. That's what my father is telling me. That's what nature is telling me, is that this information is crucial and people need it now more than ever. And you know, and I and being that teaching is the last thing I have, where I can forget about all the other crap, I'm gonna teach. And hopefully I'll see y'all there. And yeah, the video that's releasing tonight and the blog post that is releasing, I think tomorrow morning, that'll have a much more kind of detailed way of how it's going to work. So on to tonight's reading. So in my hands, I hold the #1 first edition, hot off the presses copy of the book, The Search. Now, this thing is, other than the dust jacket being a little ragged, I mean, the pages in this thing are so, it's hard probably to see, but they're like so crisp. It's like a brand new book. And I'm actually considering auctioning this one in particular off because my father did write a small, inscription to my mother inside, but not as elaborate and intimate as the one in the first edition of the tracker as I have. And as I said, that things like this are precious to me. The illustration drawings, I want people to have those and display them beautifully. These things are things I never planned on parting with, but like I said, I'm getting down to the wire here with things. And which reminds me, the auctions will be resuming again on Monday with some special extra editions, including some one-of-a-kind prints of my photography that'll come already pre-framed and everything. And just like with the rest, part of the revenue generated will go back home. All right. So The Search is an interesting book, the way it's broken up. It's got kind of the first part, and then it's got the year of survival. But I'm gonna read two separate things in here, but I'm gonna start with the preface because it's important to me. There is a place I know where everything lives in harmony. Nothing is envied, stolen, or killed. Instead, everything is shared. The land is everyone's and no one's. Life is sacred there. A dweller in this place thinks highly of human life because he lives so close to the earth. He understands his part in the scheme of nature and is not lost or searching for himself. It's funny, actually. I came up with a saying earlier, I think I did, that said, when you've got nothing left to lose, that's the perfect opportunity to find yourself. In this place, man sleeps easily, without fear. God, I forget what that's like. And rises to greet the day with praises instead of with curses. He wanders the land at times, but never without purpose. Sometimes he hunts, fishes, farms, gathers, and sometimes he just sits and watches and listens. Everything is valued in this place. The smallest insect is as important as the largest bear. Each has its purpose and is respected. The water runs clear in the streams. The lakes are alive with fish. The paths are clean and covered only with the tracks of life. The trees grow uncut and the vines untrimmed. Homes for the thousands of forms of wildlife created to live within their protection. The birds, the wind, and the rushing water are the only music, except the songs that spring spontaneously from man's heart. The eyes and hands and mouths and bodies are the only form of communication. In this place, a man must face another in order to speak. There is no falsehood there, no deceit, no envy. There is only brotherhood and truth. Pain and death are there because they are a part of life. Only there is pain. Sorry. Only there the pain is natural. It is not inflicted by man, but by the natural order of life. It does not debilitate, but teaches. It does not depress, but it frees. Death there is the natural end and the supernatural beginning. There is a God in this place, for without the Great Spirit, there could be no harmony. It is the force which exists both outside, creating, and within, relating all living forms. The Great Spirit created this place. The Great Spirit made it good and enables all its creatures to live full lives there. This is a place I know, where man is naked and unashamed, naked and neither hot from the sun nor cold from the wind. There is a serenity for a man in this place, and a oneness with all of creation. There man neither hates nor envies, for everything is his, and he belongs to everything. There man feels his part of the world, and is not anxious. There is a place I know where the seasons change, but mildly, with a splendor beyond description, where summer rises on waving lines of heat out of a spring so lush and green and full of excitement that it drips with life. In this place, summer goes on forever like a meandering river, and all of its life is caught up and caressed in its dry warmth. Fall sneaks up on you in this place, discerned only by its color and the frost that replaces the dew. Winter there is white and crispy and sleepy, promising beneath its blanket the key to eternity. There is change in this place, I know. The seasons change, the trees grow tall, and the man is born, grows old, and dies with a smile on his lips and peace in his heart. Where is this place? Does it really exist? Yes. It is within me and can be within you. It is a state of mind. It is an awareness. It is an appreciation. It is an understanding. It is a commitment to life. It is the realization that everything I described is all about us every day of our lives, but we miss it. We are blind to the beauty of a sunset, deaf to the music of the wind, callous to the rough bark and soft grass. We speak of salaries and war instead of singing songs of life. We taste the bitterness of pollution and miss the sweetness of wild honeysuckle. We smell bus fumes, but never the apple blossoms or clover flower. We are trapped by our conditioning in a world of steel and plastic, asphalt and concrete. We are removed from the earth and getting farther and farther from it daily. We worry, fret, strive, slave, and accumulate. We see life as a treadmill, a production plant, a honky-tonk, a garage. We see it as an early American or neoclassical or nouveau or modern or ancient, but we never see it as natural. Life is manufactured and marketed it. It is, for many of us, something to be bought or sold. And the more we pay, the better off we feel we are. In my world, there is nothing artificial, nothing sterile. In my world, the closer I can get to the dirt and the mud, the more alive I become. I neither worry nor fret nor strive nor slave. Whatever happens, happens, and I learn from it. I accumulate only what I can carry, and I see life as a great banquet at which I'm the honored guest. along with my brothers, the deer and the bear and the raccoon and the salamander and the eagle and the fly. My world has no time except the seasons and the perspectives of youth and old age. My world is natural, designed by hands that are universal in nature. It is neither American nor Chinese. Its differences are high and low, wet and dry, cold and warm, and it makes a little difference to me which one I'm in. In my world, life is a gift to be accepted and returned. Life is a celebration. It is a gift to be accepted. It is a learning. It is a gift. We cannot buy it or sell it because that is not ours. It is the Great Spirit's, given to us to enjoy. That is the world that best explains this place. Joy. That is why I feel in my world, or that is what I feel in my world. Joy. And I sincerely believe that you can feel the same joy in your world because they are the same place, only seen through different eyes. I once asked my old Apache friend and teacher, Stalking Wolf, why he would not be cold in the winter or hot in the summer. His answer was, I am both, but I'm not bothered by them. Why? I asked. He looked at me for a long time, trying to decide, I feel, if I was ready to receive his answer, to accept what he was about to tell me. Then he said, because they are real. I've spent a long time trying to understand those words, the only way I know how, by living them, by being as real as I can and appreciating all the real things in this world. We are a part of everything real and natural, and therefore they are a part of us. If we don't fight them, but let them flow through us, they will never bother us, only enrich us. It is such a simple principle that most of us miss it. But by missing it, we miss the most of what life is all about. What I am saying is that to be part of this real world, you need to see things differently. That is all. Listen with your feelings, see with your heart, read the earth, listen to the wind as it speaks to you. Gather in its fragrances and touch its differences. Taste it and see that it is good. The earth is a garden, this life a banquet, and it's time we realized that it was given to all life, animal and man, to enjoy. Well, it's funny when I Intervision told me to go with the Intervision mode of choosing what to read for these sessions. It's been pretty dang spot on. Um, I needed to hear a lot of that. And one thing I love about my father's books, each one of his books I've probably read at least 5 times. And every time I read them, I glean new information. And that was the beauty about his teachings as well. I'm still learning from things he taught me when I was 6 years old. And the thing I am most thankful that he gave me, though, is the gift of awareness, of being able to find rapture just about anywhere, to truly appreciate and love the people around you, the people in your family, the people in your community, to truly love and want to be a caretaker, not only of yourself, but your fellow humans and nature itself. That's why I laugh at the question, what's the meaning of life? Well, it is not to sell 8 hours of your day to chase someone else's dream. I can tell you that. I it's also been particularly hard because yesterday would have been my mom's 81st birthday. And I've been thinking a lot about her lately. I jokingly say, if it wasn't for my mom's gentle nagging, there would have never been the book, The Tracker, or a tracker school. My mom had a particular way of convincing people to do things. And, I think one of the, you know, this is the first year of my life that I've had to live without both of my parents, or at least one around. And it was the hardest birthday of my life because that was the one day a year I could count on talking to both of them on the same day. And it was hard enough when my mom passed. And, I'm so thankful that I still have my stepmom, Celeste, and, my brothers and things. But, it's different when you lose your parents. And, why I've dedicated so much of my life to, another, if I could think of another meaning of life, it would be that we learn from our parents, the good, the bad. We take it, we process it through our own life experiences, and then we become better versions of our parents, mainly keeping the good and doing away with the bad. And the things that later in his life caused my father to wall himself off, because he didn't know who was around him and genuinely wanted to be around him because of who he was as an individual, or were they somebody who saw him as a guru, or an idol figure. He never wanted that. He wanted to be, the same as everybody else, getting muddy and dirty, having fun. And I very distinctly remember that change, when my dad went from being my dad to being my father. It was very, very kind of stern. And I also, in the live stream the other night, and the video I posted to my YouTube, which was probably up right about now, I told the real story about why I left tracker school in 2009, and I'm going to share that here now as well. In 2009, it was my 9th year back there working as an instructor. When I started there, my first week teaching again as an adult after I did my 5 years wandering North America, practicing the skills I teach. I started as the lowest instructor on the rung of the ladder, and eventually, when I departed ways, I was head instructor, I was director, and was also medical officer. And, many people think that I left tracker school because my father and I had a falling out, um, or it was over this, or it was over that. When in fact, it was actually an elaborate coyote lesson, that my father essentially forced me upon, because at that point he wasn't happy with the way, with what the school had turned into. And I say this in the video, and I'll say it right now. That does not mean that if have taken a class there in the last 10, 15 years, that it was a bad class, because it wasn't. Had nothing to do with the teaching. It was more of the people coming around and not being able to tell their motives, similar to how I was taken advantage of. It happened to my father with his books. He didn't know who he could trust. Um, and one skill set I've spent the last 16 years developing is emotional intelligence, so that I don't have to build up those walls, so I can be close with my students and communicate with them and be there for them if they need, somebody to talk to, or, want to send me a picture of a track that they just found and ask me to identify it for them. And I'm happy to do that. And one of the things that really upset me is, when my father passed, I've been alone through all of this, through the loss of my mother, my father, my financial security. I've had to endure this all alone. Um, and my father often would say there's a ocean of difference between being alone and loneliness. And I thought I had experienced loneliness before. And boy, was I wrong. I actually had a friend visit the other night who I haven't seen in a really long time, 20 years. And she was speaking at a botany plant event down in Southern Oregon. And she just calls me out of the blue and says, "Hey, I'm flying out of Portland Airport. How about you want to hang out for like 5 or 6 hours? And then you can just give me a ride to the airport, which is only 10 minutes from where I live." And I said, "Oh, hell yeah, I'd love to see you, because I have my friend Evan who I live with, but other than that, I don't really have many people around here." Um, and, so she came and, of course we hug. And I realized as I'm hugging her that that's the first time I got like a real good hug from somebody in, I couldn't even tell you the last time, you know. Um, I miss being in the presence of people who speak my language, who can hear the birds and what they're saying, who can talk to the trees, who like to go into the woods and get muddy and dirty. Um, and for me personally, just like my father before me, I will teach until my very last breath, you know, and I will sacrifice everything to do so. And so he may be questioning, well, then why the hell is he offering all of his online classes for free? Um, I'm doing it because I'm hoping that will be a metric to show you exactly how serious I am about what I do and the lifetime I've put into learning and practicing these skills. And there was a while there where I tried to rebel. My parents divorced, moved to suburbia, and kind of lost touch with my dad for a few years. And I didn't really care anything other than the ocean. I didn't go to the woods much. And all's that, let's see, 10 years. All's that 10-year period bought me was a crappy elementary and high school education in which I could have taught any of my teachers. I could have probably done a better job. But when you grow up around somebody like my father, it's hard to top that. In fact, in my K through 12 education, I can only think of one teacher I had that was even close to as passionate about teaching as my dad was. Most of them were just 9 to 5 in it, You click the slide, say the line in the book, I only want to be around people that have that level of passion about everything, about life, about what they do. I want to be around people that uplift each other, helping them rise as high as they possibly can, not step on their shoulders to get themselves one rung further up the ladder. And, what hurts most through all this is the fact that, finding out that people, these mystery people out there who are like actively trying to suppress me and silence my work to try to suck up some of the students that were left in the vacuum after my father's passing. Even though tracker school is still around and still going to be running classes, and I plan on being there a lot this summer, hanging out in Nicole, swimming in the Musconetcong, which I can't wait for. Um, and I'm gonna just be there as a volunteer, and help out if in any way I can. I'm gonna read one more little passage here, and then I'm gonna wrap it up for the night because I just realized that after 2 live stream nights in a row, in my previous job, I taught classes every weekend. And once you go a while and you're not teaching so much, you lose your voice a lot quicker. But yeah, in tracker school days, I used to be able to talk for, I think my last year, I think I said this last night, but during the standard class, I had 22 hours of lecture in that one class alone. So the next part of the search I'm going to read here is a short one, and it's called chapter number 8, Cathedral. And as I mentioned earlier, this book is broken up into an interesting pattern. So he's got, it's part 1, part 2, part 3. So it's tests and encounters is part 1, park rangers part 2, part 3 is the search, and then part 4 is the afterword. So I'm kind of starting with the second chapter of part 2. I had been wandering for 4 days through the wilderness area in Montana. The weather was turning colder, the foliage had turned, and much of it had fallen. When I walked, I left my prints on nature's oriental rug. I had been following a ridgeline on the main trail and stopped where a smaller trail led down into a tiny valley. The first set of prints I saw heading down the trail made me realize that I would be descending into the valley before long. A bobcat had walked down the trail the night before. Lynx Rufus, I thought. I'm going to follow you to your den if I have to track you 25 miles. I was excited to have found the tracks of this rare cat. At first, I didn't believe my eyes. I thought someone's cat had gone wild, but I'd never seen a cat print this big. They were 2 inches long and registered 13 inches apart, and were made by an animal that weighed at least 25 pounds. It was not an easy track. The ground was covered with leaves and very rocky. However, I was able to deduce where the cat would go, and so would go to that spot, search, and usually find at least a partial print to go by. That one short sentence right there, or a couple of sentences about tracking, are hugely important for the skill of tracking. It doesn't always have to be about finding every track. Sometimes the more time we spend in the woods, we learn about animals, their behaviors, their habits, then we can guesstimate based on that animal's needs for that time of year. Let's see, where was I? By the time I arrived on the floor of the valley, It was late afternoon. That cat had stopped at the stream that ran down the center of this gorge for a drink. Now, which way would a bobcat go? I looked across the stream, but saw no sign on the opposite bank where the cat might have climbed or jumped. It probably stayed on the rocks along the stream, hoping to come on some small animal fishing or taking a drink. But which way would this cat have wandered? When you can't see, feel. The words of Stalking Wolf came to me as I knelt beside the stream. I cupped some of the cold water in my hand and drank. If I were a cat, where would I go? I sniffed the air for some clues. The air was damp with a full smell of pine and rotting leaves. I listened hard against the sound of the forest and the stream. The grosbeak and siskin spoke to me. The red squirrel scolded. Oh, let's see. The red squirrel scolded. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, if I were a cat, where would I go? I sniffed the air for some clues. The air was damp and full of the smell of pine and rotting leaves. I listened hard against the sounds of the forest and stream. The grosbeak and siskin spoke to me, the red squirrel scolded, and a trout jumped. Somewhere far upstream, a sound came through. It was a sound of water falling. At that moment, I felt like heading upstream, and I did. I walked into the most dazzling experience I could ever imagine. What I saw made me forget the bobcat. I had wandered into a natural cathedral. I fell to my knees and cried. There were tears of joy and awe, respect and gratitude. The sunlight angled down through the tall pines and diffused into a pattern of shadow and light on the rocks and water pools that would shame any man-made mosaic. The bird songs of red-poll goldfinch, siskin, junco, grosbeak, and tanager filled the air with a cacophony of music. My spirit soared. A rainbow formed in the mist thrown up by the waterfall. The giant pines created a canopy 100 feet from the valley floor and supported the blue-green sky. There is a creation story told by the Cato Indians that begins, he stood up pines along his way. He placed yellow pines far away, he placed them. These words came to my mind as I knelt on hard rock and watched the sun set softly through the tall pines, yellow like candlelight. No cathedral constructed by man's hands could ever be this perfect. I worshipped, fasted, and meditated there for 3 days. I will never forget that experience. Though interestingly enough, something my father left me is a page with a bunch of latitude and longitude coordinates on it. And he told me that after his passing, I need to go to these places. And one of them is in Montana. And I think this is the spot. In the morning, early before first light, elk would come to drink from the pools. I would watch them come single file to the water's edge and drink while one kept watch. They had already begun to turn grayish brown, and their manes were growing longer for the winter. One of the calves still had light spots. It must have been born late. They were such a proud animal that I couldn't imagine how man could have exterminated them in the eastern states. I would go next to the pool, I would lie down on a flat rock near the falls and douse my head full in the water. I would drink my fill and then roll onto my back to watch the sun's rise in the cathedral. The first light was ushered in by a pine grosbeak's sweet warble. As the gray turned slowly golden, 1,000 bird songs would herald the sun. Each dawn was more magnificent than the previous had been. I was each time overwhelmed by its beauty. I would lie there, arms outstretched, and welcome the new day. The second day, I filled my hands with seeds and fed the choir of birds who were supplying the cathedral's music. Many birds came that day, but when I spread seeds around the rock the next day, hundreds came. I was surrounded by them. My father had a thing with birds. You'd be walking through the woods with them, and birds would just come and land on him. It was amazing. I've got quite a few pictures of him just like covered with birds. A red crossbill nibbled pine seeds from my hand and thanked me with its toti song. Every bird whose song I heard came to partake of the grain offerings. Later in the morning, the red squirrel would sally forth, and his friend, the least chipmunk, would join him. Sometimes a muskrat would poke its head above the water surface to listen to the squirrel's chatter. I would lie concealed on the flat rock and watch them eat and drink of the cool water. The red fox came silently to the stream from above the falls, but he was not looking for game. He did not sniff at the ground or follow the scent of the squirrel or the snowshoe or the chipmunk. He stopped for a brief instant on a flat rock beside me and looked up at the sunlight. Golden rays made his red coat shine with an ethereal brilliance. He turned and went out the way he had entered. It was as if he had come here to give thanks. The sunset brought a weasel, a skunk, a red-backed mouse. I lay breathless every evening to see if the weasel would cross the stream and take the mouse. He didn't. There was something about this place that made killing in it impossible. It was a good medicine place. But more than that, it was a holy ground, and every living thing that entered this place sensed its difference and respected it. I had discovered a natural cathedral where peace was a way of life, and I felt good there. Too good. I could spend the rest of my life there, enveloped in awesome peacefulness. Dang it, lost my brain. There, the concept that the earth and all it produced and nurtured was holy, was real. I felt it. I was it. I heard it. It was true. What could draw me away from this place? Hunger. I fasted 3 days. Although I was completely relaxed and content, I was beginning to feel a bit weak. What was I to do? I had no desire to kill any of the other worshippers in this sacred place, but I knew I had to eat. I could forage, but again, I had no desire to disturb the perfect harmony that surrounded me. I decided to leave in the morning. The screech and great horned both roosted high in the pines and called the forest to prayer at night. These territorial birds shared this place. I had shared it also and must move on. Perhaps that is the way it was meant to be. Perhaps no man could spend his entire life in such a place. The spirit, after all, is at home in the body, and the body needs sustenance. I answered the owl's call and thanked the Great Spirit for my good fortune. 3 days of perfect peace. It was more than some experience in a lifetime. I rose before the grosbeak called, before the elk descended to the stream. I wanted to take my leave in silence and alone. I moved toward the stream and was startled by a shadowy form standing on a rock where I had spent the last 3 days. Its eyes met mine and seemed to recognize me. Yup, that was the feeling I received from its gaze. Recognition. Then it turned and bounded off towards the falls. Lynx Rufus, I whispered. You led me here. I followed the bobcat up and out of Tiny Valley into the gray morning just as the grosbeak sang. The golden light came earlier this morning as I climbed through fir, pine, spruce, and larch. It would be a good day. I want to talk for a second. I'm not going to talk too much longer. I'll give y'all a chance to speak as well. But this ideal of, to me, all of nature is a cathedral. But those of us who have spent more time outside than in have found true natural cathedrals before. And you know the feeling when you find them. It's like you're walking through the woods, everything's beautiful, but then all of a sudden you get to this one spot. In previous broadcasts, I've talked about how I learned how to read the overall baseline of an area, not physically, but internally, almost as a sine wave. And the smoother the sine wave, the more pure the area is. And I've been blessed in my life with finding a few of these natural cathedrals. And it's for those of you who are Miyazaki fans, in Princess Mononoke, where the forest spirit lives. It's like you get that kind of feeling when you walk into that space, that everything is exactly as it should be. And you're just compelled to sit and take it all in physically, mentally, spiritually, and just watch and grow from the experience. And think about how many other things, how many other cathedrals we can have in our lives, both good and bad. It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. If there's one thing that I've learned in these last couple of years is that, as my father would say, you are what you think. But being able to have the ability to go into the woods, to not be afraid of nature like these stupid ass TV shows make us, make people try to be, to see nature through my eyes, the way I see it. That's why photography plays such a huge role in my work, is I try to use my camera to capture nature the way I see it. And my piece of advice for this evening is, no matter where you live, whether you live in a city, a suburb, find a cathedral. And don't let that term cathedral fool you. We think of a cathedral, we think of this grand structure. I've found cathedrals in nature that are a single stump. One stump in a forest full of them. This one stump had literally so many different life forms in and around it, living off of it, the heat that it generates in the winter as it composts. It's just like my father used to say, you can have a vision quest in 15 seconds, or you can go sit in that circle for 4 days and, not have anything. And that's why when my father moved into the meditation stuff in philosophy 1, the idea of meditating and having to seclude, go off by yourself and have your mantras and your bells and your chanting, and you're sitting there with your eyes closed. And there is power in that sort of meditation, breath work. But when you learn how to achieve that alpha state by continually walking the way the foxes do and continually being in wide angle vision, the whole world changes. All of a sudden, we're able to see things that were never there before, but had been there the whole time. And that's why anytime I'm about to enter a new experience, a new place, I try to see it from all perspectives. Anytime I come in the woods and I find a big pile of trash where a bunch of people have been partying and camping the weekend, for a minute, I really try to get in their mindset on how they could come out to such a beautiful place and have a good time, and then just leave all their crap behind for me to come pick it up. And I'm not mad at them, because that's the way they were taught to enjoy nature. And that's why a huge part of my work is teaching people the proper way to enjoy nature, and that is to be natural, to be a part of it, or should I say, to be part of it, not a part of it. Because once again, no matter if you are a man, a woman, an other, a squirrel, a bacteria, an amoeba, a chimpanzee, an elephant, a trillium flower, or an oxeye daisy, we all share the same home, Mother Earth, which is a giant rock that is hurtling through infinite blackness at 777,000 kilometers per hour. Which, yeah, I can't go into astronomy too much. It's just I can't think that big. It's and the point I'm trying to make is, we are all of the earth. Everything around me, this high-tech computer crap, all of this is born of the earth. Sure, you got to mix some stuff together and some other materials, but everything comes from the earth and everything returns to the earth, and the cycle starts over again. And every day we have a chance to start cycles. And we also have the choice to end cycles. And this year, on New Year's Day, I made the choice to really start a new cycle, because of what the last few years have done to me. And it's not, I've learned so much. I've been hurt so much, and there's not much I would change about it, other than losing my parents and my dog. Otherwise, I went through about 40 years worth of life experience in 3. So I'll count that as a win, and lick my wounds and do some push-ups, get my strength back, because now that the fire is going again and things are coalescing, I can feel it every day. Up until about a couple weeks ago, every morning I would wake up in a state of instant adrenaline and despair. And I still have those mornings. But lately, I'm back to my old self where I used to get up with the blue light and wake right up and be ready to go to embrace that day because there's only so much daylight, which, am I mistaken? Is daylight savings this weekend, right? Thank God. I am so sick of the light dark at 4 stuff. Anybody have any thoughts, feelings, stories, quandaries, questions, musings, ramblings? Now is your chance to speak. I'll open the floor. Anybody? Bueller? All right. I guess you're a bunch of silent folks tonight. It's all right. I did plenty of talking. Apologies for the Zoom meeting mess up. So guess what I get to spend the rest of my night doing? I had planned on doing some cleaning and organizing and schedule designing, but now I get to start emailing Squarespace and being like, what the happened? You said everything was set up perfectly. And but yeah, I just feel bad for the people who wanted to attend it live, but didn't get a chance to. But thankfully, it is being recorded. So yeah, and along with it, just one more thing I'll add about this whole concept of I don't want to call the classes free, because if everybody takes free classes, then obviously I can't run any classes. So anytime since I've been out on my own teaching, and they're usually private classes. I You get to the point where money comes up, and it is my most dreaded time because I feel bad charging money to people to help them remember things they already know how to do. They're just buried so deep in your DNA, you got to wake it up. And B, I granted I do have, photography is a pretty expensive hobby, and um, I do like the occasional gadget. But nothing I buy is meant for, fun. It's all work related, which is great for taxes, by the way. I don't require a lot of money to live. Um, and I just decided I'm going to teach and hope that people find the classes, or I start generating enough to where I can start spreading the word that way. You all can feel free to tell your networks that send them to my website so they sign up for my mailing list, because I'm trying to move everything onto my website so I can do away with social media. That's why I started the daily news page. Every day I update that with whatever I'm doing on that particular day. Um, and I want my website to be kind of a one-stop inclusive thing. And I just found out that Acuity Scheduling, they actually have their own video conferencing thing. So I need to look into that and see how much that is versus how much I pay for Zoom. Um, because then I could keep everything contained within the website itself instead of having to use all these third-party things. But thank you all. Owen, it's good to see you again. Scott, thank you for our conversations. Mr. Pinkard, give me a call tomorrow. And Nicole, I will let's touch space this week about doing an online private session soon because I want to teach. So, all right, everybody. Peace, love, joy, purpose to you all. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more kind of random, spur of the moment live casts as things improve. So I'm super excited about that as well. All right, everybody. I will post this recording both up on my YouTube channel. I have a a playlist for my T3 Reads TBJRs, and I'll also put it in the recording section of my website after I edit out the beginning junk. But thank you all. Good luck. What is it? Good night and good luck. All right. Love you guys. Bye.